Alright, right off the bat, we have a hidden item somewhere around here, right in this wall. It's a star piece, which I'm obviously going to be converting to a free PP up whenever I have the time. I'm going to do so off-screen, of course, because I've already shown you how to do that. One thing that I like about this area, and pretty much all other cave areas that have this song playing in them, is that the deeper you go in, and I'm talking about the deeper as in floors, not necessarily the distance from the entrance, the key of the song starts getting lower and lower and lower. Of course, you can't really hear it over the sound of my commentating, but you can look it up fairly easily by just trying it out in your own game. Pretty neat touch, I think. So, I think we're all done in the second basement. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to head back to the doctor now, because my PP is starting to get a bit on the low side on my sigilite as well, and to be honest, I really don't want to use Lilligant too much in this area, as much as humanly possible, because it's just weak against everything in this place, so not a very good idea. See, that's the problem when using Lilligant, which is a Pokemon that can only decently attack with grass moves, but I was aware of all that when I chose to use it, so I'm prepared to get my punishment now. So, while I do that, one thing that I want to talk about, you know, in the last few videos I've been ripping on Smogon for the way they're handling this whole Garchomp debacle, but I want to talk about something a little more positive, I guess, depending on your point of view. It's more neutral, I guess, but something that isn't going to make anyone rage. And that's the usage stats for the month of August. Now, August 2012 has been a very special month in Pokemon for the simple reason that on Pokemon Online and Pokemon Showdown combined, not a single Pokemon managed to reach 20% in usage. I think it's always been the case ever since we started keeping tabs of that kind of stats all these years ago, but nothing above 20%. Now, of course, you might be saying, you know, Rain is OP and stuff like that, but still, it might be a sign that we're heading towards a more balanced metagame than ever before, and this is very, very good. Of course, I don't know if that means we're going to have more Pokemon in the overused tier itself, but still, something to think about. And something else that really startled me was the fact that Gothitelle, still not all that hot. It's not in the top 100 at all. Now, I'm going to give it to you. Shadow Tag Gothitelle was only available starting on August 9th. But still, the fact that it's so far down means that it's really not lighting any fires. I really, really thought it could at least, you know, make it into the top 100, maybe even make it to the overused tier in the absence of Chandelure. But the fact that it's just so disappointing, it just hints at Shadow Tag being yet another ability that many people thought was just plain overpowered, but Gothitelle still can't do jack shit with it. Now, Gothitelle isn't the best Pokemon, I admit, but it's still far from the worst. So, really looking forward to seeing if Chandelure is going to have its time in the sun sometime, sorry about that, before Generation 6 starts, which, should happen in about a year, according to my best estimates. Did that just happen? Did a dust cloud erupt like right in front of me and I didn't have time to react and I ran straight into it? Why didn't that happen back in Wellspring Cave again? But anyway, enough about that. I was talking about Gothitelle and Chandelure. Yeah, I can understand that they were very reluctant to let Shadow Tag Chandelure loose, but with Gothitelle's flop, I don't really know if Chandelure would be such an over-centralizing force. I guess there's only one real way to find out, but it all depends on Game Freak and Nintendo at this point, whether they're going to introduce it at some point in the next year. Also, something else, another new Pokemon that entered the fray this month, this time on the 11th. Genesect, which ranked number 14. And according to my calculations, it would... Oh wow, yet another freaking dust cloud. I couldn't run into it this time, but still. I'm just wondering though, I've seen a few dust clouds in this place so far, and it's all drill burrs all the time, not a single gem. Whereas in Wellspring Cave, it was the reverse. You had a lot of gems, but you were hard pressed to find a single drill burr. Anyway, now that I've talked to the doctor, I'm going to send Excadrill back into the lead. And, yeah, I did that because we still have a ways to go in this cave. We have less to do than what we've done so far, but still, we might be spending probably at the very least until the end of this video, especially since we're going to have to fight N before getting out, as you might have imagined with all the plasmas around. But, yeah, Genesect would have scored number 6 had it been there all month if you just make some basic calculations. So that leads us into the very interesting prospect of having 3 Pokemon in the top 6 that would be quadruple weak to fire. We would have Scizor, we would have Ferrothorn, and we would also have Genesect. Now I'm sort of wondering if the rise of Genesect could affect Scizor's usage adversely, considering that they both have the same typing. But then again, people still use the crap out of Fortress, as I said a few videos ago, so... or last video, rather, sorry about that. So yeah, maybe having 3 Bugsteels in the top 20, along with a bunch of other Pokemon that are quadruple weak to fire, would be a pretty interesting sight. And in fact, personally, I know I'm not the best at competitive battling, but this would sort of be my cue to start running Ninetales on any weatherless team, just for the sake of taking down all these Pokemon that are quadruple weak to fire, while neutralizing the rain that they will no doubt have to back them up. And the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to the stats is the drop in usage of the Genie's Therian forms. Now, this was sort of expected because my theory was that their usage was so high to begin with because they were new and people wanted to try them out and stuff. So it's really no surprise that they went down a bit. Now, Landorus is in a very weird position that Tornadus and Thundurus are thankfully being spared from, because Incarnate Tornadus is just, well, it doesn't suck, but it's definitely disappointing, and Incarnate Thundurus is uber, so neither of them are really in the same league as their corresponding Therian forms to begin with. But Landorus has 2 forms that are both fairly viable, and because of Species Clause, this means that you have to choose one of the 2. And if you look at where they are in the rankings... Oh! A Wild Tynamo! Well, I did not expect to run into one... at all in this run. Maybe it would have been the time in the second basement, but not on this floor. But as I was saying, both forms of Landorus are way down in terms of usage, and they're basically sabotaging each other because you can't use both at the same time no matter how much you want to. And besides, the fact that Gliscor is so popular these days means that it's not always a brilliant idea to run a Landorus anyway. But nonetheless, we could get into a very interesting situations where both forms sabotage each other into getting into a lower tier. And quite frankly, should either of them end up in underused, I think they'll be bumped up to borderline pretty quickly. Though in the case of the Incarnate form, I wonder if that would be the case, because Weather, as far as I know, is outright banned in underused, so maybe Incarnate Landorus wouldn't be OP and underused, I guess. This is just conjecture at this point. We're going to have to wait and see. But back to the game for right now. Where I'm headed right now is into an area that will lead to a shortcut that brings you way back to, near the entrance of Chargestone Cave, because the reason why we had to take that detour through these basements was because of this thing that was placed right in the way, and it even hides a max potion, so good thing I came here. So, yeah, it's always a good idea to try and knock that thing out of the way, because it creates a shortcut, which is always good if you want to have to revisit that cave, and we will have to revisit that cave much later on, much to my everlasting dismay. Oh, and something that I wanted to bring up at some point in this LP real quick. I don't know if you guys remember when this game was first announced. A lot of people were worried that the titles... Well, they weren't really worried that the titles would be racial undertones, but they were worried that some less tolerant people would interpret them as such, even though, it has absolutely nothing to do with race, I guess. I guess this being North America, where racial issues are still fairly sensitive in some areas, this fear might be justified, especially considering the IQ you would expect out of your typical racist hick. But nonetheless, I think it was really unjustified, because there were obviously more people worried about people interpreting the title as racist undertones than people who actually cried wolf when it comes to those racist undertones. There were even some people who were pushing for renaming the games outright to, Ebony and Ivory. I remember someone suggesting that, but it didn't happen, and that was for the best, because, seriously, Pokemon Black version, Pokemon White version, that doesn't mean jack all when it comes to, races. I was about to say there aren't very many black characters in Pokemon, but I immediately thought of Lenora. There are probably others that I'm completely missing as well. Don't tell me, please. I'm sure there are more black characters beyond Lenora. That one chick, what was her name from Battle Revolution? Actually, the fun thing is that she was... Oh, another Dust Cloud! Awesome, and it's another Drillbur, not even a gym! As I was saying before, it seems like the Drillbur rate on these things is much higher here than in Wellspring Cave. But as I was saying, that girl was a regular Asian anime character in the Japanese version of Battle Revolution, but in the international versions, she was like a weird hybrid of Asian and black. Are there black Asians? Probably! There probably are black Asians, it's just that the concept is rather awkward to me, especially since I live in an area where, pretty much everyone is white and Caucasian from the start. Anyway, you can see the exit of the cave right there, but before that, we have to fight Mr. Gropius once again. And yeah, now, I was talking about this tile just now. I had no intention whatsoever of having it fit in so perfectly. This is a bit what was called black and white, because, nothing is really black and white. Yes, I do have a dream of my own. Painting the walls of this cave with the blood of your Pokemon. But that is something that's going to have to wait until the next episode.